it's on live. Wow. I decided to take a look at some stuff and see how things are working, and I got my screener back there. And I don't know how long it's going to last, but that's pretty cool that it's still there. Plus, it jumped really quick to starting, and I had some other stuff. But hey, they must have updated YouTube, and I'm glad, because this is the Comic Haul. It's my show that I do every week about new comics that I got this week. This week includes probably one of my most eagerly anticipated comics for a while. It's when it was announced almost a year ago. I was anticipating the day that this came out, and it finally did. And I decided I was going to read it before I did the show, and I read it, and I loved it. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. We also got some new books spitting out, well, one new book anyway this week coming out of Metal. And I did some bad stuff after what I talked about last week, and you'll see. Speaking of bad stuff, we got some nice looking covers coming up at the end, but hey, we'll talk about that in a little bit. First, what is the Comic Haul real quick? Comic Haul is my show, as I told you, that I do every week about new comics that I get. Comic books come out every week. I buy them every week, and I show you the covers, the artwork on the inside, tell you who writes and the art about it, a little bit about the story, if I know what a little about the story is. All in a way to get you all to go out to your local comic book store and check them out. And not just these, but as I said, this small portion of what comes out. There's a number of books that came out this week. This is only a small portion of them because I don't collect all of them. I couldn't afford to collect all of them. And as you'll see later on, I probably shouldn't have bought some of the ones that I bought today. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. And I'll try to find the best cover of the week. I don't really have any things I can think of off the top of my head. I'll take a look at it and make a determination. So, as always, I start with DC, then Marvel, then Independence. So, first up, these are all books that had come out this week. So if you go to your local comic book store and you go to the New This Week section, these books should be there. By the way, if you're looking for a local comic book store, go to the Comic Shop Locator Service website. So just type in Comic Shop Locator Service into your search engine, and one of the first things that pops up, click on it and get to the Comic Shop Locator Service website. Type in your zip code, and it'll give you a list of all the comic book stores within about a 20-mile radius of your house. So 10 to 20-mile radius of your house. So you have options to go look at them. So without further ado, the first book from DC this week is the first one out of Metal. This one's Damage #1. The premise behind it sounds a lot like the Incredible Hulk, if the Incredible Hulk only could be hulked out for an hour at a time. That's the basic premise of this. I'm assuming because it's coming out of Metal, we will find out more about it. Since this is the first issue, we have a nice little gatefold wraparound sort of cover. I just don't want to tear it. So it doesn't really connect to anything. I guess it's some sneak previews of some stuff that's coming. I guess maybe it'll connect to the other #1s, because the inside we get this little poster as well featuring characters that are not in this book. This is Damage. It is written by Robert Venditti, who is doing a great job on Green Lantern Corps, with art by Tony Daniel, who I absolutely love his artwork. I've grown to love it. I didn't like it in the old days, but I've grown to love it. Tony Daniel also, and Danny Mickey is the inker. So there's Damage right there. So it's the first of the new, and there's a countdown over here. It's the first of the new heroes coming out of Metal. So, a lot of big splashy pages, because the character is a big splashy type of person, but Venditti is anything but just splashy stuff. So some really gorgeous artwork from Tony Daniel. So, and a sneak preview and a guest appearance by someone from DC Universe. This is one of the other ones that's coming out soon. The Terrifics. They give you a preview in the back. Ivan Reyes and Jeff Lemire. So we got that. We also have Immortal Man, Silencer, Curse of Brimstone, Sideways, New Challengers, Terrifics, and The Unexpected. So these are all the new heroes that are going to be coming out over the next couple months. This is only $2.99, which was good. So I recommend, if you want to, if if you haven't been to a comic book store in a while and you want to get into comics and you want to start on the ground floor, this is probably a good area to start. And I don't think you need to know what's going on in Metal to understand this. It looks like a general just setup, but as I said, it's a lot like the Incredible Hulk, except the person who is the creature is only the creature for an hour at a time. So it's an interesting premise. Superman number 39 is a nice little one-shot written by Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason. Let's see, who's the artwork by? I guess in the back. Oh, where is it? Sometimes it's hard to find because they put it in the... Oh, here you go. Barry Kitson did the artwork. Fantastic. Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason writer, Barry Kitson pencils, Barry Kitson and Scott Hanna ink. Barry Kitson's a fabulous artist, and it is a one-shot called Goodnight Moon, where Superman and Green Lantern take a bunch of cancer-ridden children to the moon and let them explore the moon, meet the Justice League. It's nice to see Barry Kitson's lovely artwork. I loved him in when he did the Legion series, Legion 89, Legion 90, and stuff like that. It was fantastic when he was doing the artwork for that. So just a great, fun little one-shot. Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason have been killing it on this book, doing a great job. And these one-shots are always fun to get, so you can probably pick this one up as well this week, and you know, not have to understand what came before and what came after. What's interesting about that is Dan Jurgens, when he wrote Superman back in the 90s, used to do these one-shots around Christmas time called Metropolis Mailbag, where he would have Superman answer letters that the post office held for him every year. Because, you know, people, you know, when you're living a world where Superman is real and you have problems, you write letters to Superman, and it's like sending them to Santa Claus. You know, they don't necessarily have an address for Santa Claus, but they have an area in the post office which can, you know, send stuff to Santa Claus. They have an area where they save Superman stuff, and he goes in there once a year and reads all the letters and helps out as many people as he can. You know, some are just saying, hey, I need you to do this for me, or can you give me a signature or something like that. And then some are like, I need water for my family, that type of stuff. So some good stuff. So that looks like it's kind of reminds me of that. This series has been killing it also. This is Batman, newest issue of Batman, number 39. Starts a new storyline that a lot of people are up in arms about, but I think if you just give it a second, I think you'll understand what's going on. It's written by Tom King with art by Joel Jones. There's a situation that happens as Wonder Woman crosses over with Batman in this issue. And it's upsetting some people. I haven't read it yet, but I trust in Tom King. I also trust the fact that I love Batman and Catwoman together. But there's something in here that might change stuff up, but I hope not. But as I said, this is just... This is just something that we need to find out what's going on. I think I trust in Tom King, so I don't think it's going to be a problem. Ooh, Immortal Men is the sneak preview in this one. I thought it was Jeff Lemires. I like that. Next up, we have Super Sons, another Peter J. Tomasi joint. This one finishes up the Super Sons of Tomorrow storyline that crossed over in Teen Titans and Superman. It's written by Peter J. Tomasi. I guess like Patrick Gleason also is a bit writing in it, because I guess he wrote the Superman part of it. Tyler Kirkham is the artist. And basically it's just taking, you know, alternate dimension Superman and Batman and you know, taking on stuff. But Super Sons has been a fun series where you know, Jonathan, who is Clark Kent and Lois Lane's son, teams up with Damian Wayne, who is Batman and Talia al Ghul's son, and they work well together, and it's a lot of fun. So that's a nice one. Next up, we have Justice League number 37, which could turn out to be interesting book, and I'll tell you why in a second. I get the word balloons again on there. Christopher Priest has came on as writer, and Pete Woods was the artist, but I guess he's taking a little break for this issue because we have another artist on this one. It is Felipe Briones, telling the story about the someone who's trying to wreck the Justice League. But what made it interesting, and I didn't know this until I read an article about it in the paper, that this takes a step closer to bringing John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, back into the Rebirth universe. He was in the New 52, and then he disappeared. I think he might have even died. I don't remember. But now he has been mentioned in here and a few other places as well. And that's a good sign. So, and Christopher Priest can really do no wrong. That's why I'm starting to read Justice League again. Green Lanterns number 39 is out this week as well, written by Tim Seeley, with art by Ronan Cliquet. This Green Lanterns book has been fantastic, even after Sam Humphries left. Sam Humphries and Tim Seeley basically traded books. Tim Seeley had been writing Nightwing, and Sam Humphries is now writing Nightwing. So here's some more of the Green Lantern story. So, fun stuff. Speaking of Nightwing, hey, look at this. Nightwing number 37 is out this week also. I kind of like this cover. It's a really interesting cover. It could be up there for a cover of the week. Yeah, why not? Let's put this as one of the potentials for cover of the week. It's written by Sam Humphries, with art by, in the back here, Klaus Janson did the flashback art, and Jamal Campbell did the present day art. Yeah, it does look a little like Klaus Janson artwork. So there's some Klaus Janson artwork here. And Jamal Campbell. Is there a present day one? Looks like Klaus Janson. There we go. Here we go. There's Jamal Campbell's artwork. There. So this is like a flashback episode, which makes sense to what is going on in the storyline. So that's a really nice cover. So we'll put that as one of the covers of the week. Next up, we have Aquaman number 32. I almost didn't buy this because, what's his name? Steven Sejic is not doing the artwork on it, but you know what? He's going to be coming back eventually, I suppose, back on it, so I figure I'd keep up with it. Dan Abnett is writing it, and art by Riccardo Federici. And it's got a kind of similar to Steven Sejic, but not the same. Steven Sejic is a lot different, but you get the idea. And, Aquaman is pretty cool, so good. He's got a movie coming out later this year, so it's going to be good to maybe get an Aquaman on the ground floor. Batwoman number 11 was another one I wasn't going to be getting because Kevin Perkins, who was writing Superwoman after Phil Jimenez left and right before Superwoman was canceled last week, he wrote this issue. I don't know if Marguerite Bennett is just taking a breather, because I bought this mostly from Marguerite Bennett. Look, I like the character and all that, but at the same time, there are creators that I like to follow and do their stuff, and I think Marguerite Bennett was a perfect fit for Batwoman, and I'm just hoping that this is just like a one-off. Plus, it has one of the worst characters created by Grant Morrison. Professor Pig is awful. I hate him, and yet he's the main story character in this one. It's written by Kay Perkins with art by Scott Godlewski. I think Kay Perkins is Kevin Perkins, because I thought I saw that in Superwoman. Artwork's okay, but again, it's not. Who was it that took over the artwork and did a fantastic job? I can't remember. I hadn't done it for a while. But hopefully Marguerite Bennett will come back, and I think James Tynion was helping her a little bit with that, so we'll see. All right. I just find this funny, just because last week Harley Quinn issue number 34 came out, and it was the last issue of Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor's run. I said, I'm not going to pick up issue 35. I'm not that interested in it. But then I saw the Amanda Connor cover, and I said, you know what? I may as well get it and just see if Frank Thierry's will keep me around. So we'll see. So you might start seeing Harley Quinn again, but I love this cover also. Harley as Bat, as Woman Bat, I guess. So this is Frank Thierry's first issue with art by Inaki Miranda. So we'll see if it has a similar feel to the Palmiotti Connor one. I don't know if it will, and I don't know if I'm going to stick around with it, but it looks like he's keeping some of the supporting cast that was in Connor and Palmiotti's and bringing in some of his own blood. So we'll see. I mean, Frank Thierry has always been an interesting writer. I just never been a real big fan of Harley Quinn herself, but this cover is fantastic, and I love the cover, and covers will draw you in. So we'll see. Will I get issue 36? Again, I shouldn't say no because I said I wasn't going to get 35, and I bought 35 because I'm an idiot. But we'll see. Maybe it's not going to be too bad. Bombshells United number 10. This is Marguerite Bennett with art by Mirka Andolfo and David Hahn. This is a alternate reality comic where the women superheroes actually fight in World War II, and they're different, they're different characters. I mean, they're the same characters. Like there's a Batwoman and a Superwoman and a Mara and Supergirl and a Shazam and all that, but they're all different versions of it. It's a different dimension, and it's one where the superheroines are fighting World War II. Bombshell started off as a digital only comic from DC. Like every week they would do a 10-issue, a 10-page story, and then eventually they collected into comics. I have the trades. I've got all the trades. I haven't read them all, but I've read half the trades. I have the other half still to read. And then that's the first regular book since the first book stopped at issue 50. So they decided to do something different. So I've got all those issues, so I don't have to worry about reading them in trade paperback. So it's worth it. It's really good artwork, and it's Marguerite Bennett, who I absolutely adore. Finally, from DC, we have Wonder Woman Conan number 5, the Neil Adams cover that Gail Simone absolutely loves. Aaron Lopresti's artwork, again, is very consistent, and you can't deny he's a really good writer. He was one of the cross-gen guys. Matt Ryan is also the anchor of it. And so he's a consistent artist. I like his stuff. He's going to draw this whole 6-issue miniseries, which is great. Because I hate to see a mini-series, which is only 6 issues, have different artists on it. So having Aaron Lopresti do it all, and he's fantastic. So, and Gail Simone writing Wonder Woman again, and Conan is fantastic. So that's it for DC. Marvel, I can finally say this is going to be the last Venom comic I'm ever going to buy, because I've never been a big fan of Venom either, but it was crossing over with Spider-Man. It's Venom Inc. Omega. This is the final part of the Venom Inc. storyline. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the artwork of Ryan Stegman and Gerardo Sandoval with inks by Jay Leaston. And I like Mike Costa as a writer, but I'm just not a fan of Venom. I'm just not. I have no intention of seeing the Tom Hardy movie when it comes out this winter, and I'm just getting it again just because it was crossing over with Spider-Man. Now you got a nice black cat in there as well. So I'll read the story because it's part of Spider-Man lore. So we'll check it out. But this is the last Venom comic I'm going to get. So we'll see what happens. Speaking of Spider-Man, Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man, the new legacy numbering is number 299. It's written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Adam Kubert and Juan Frigeri. It's leading up to issue 300 of Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man. And it's Chip Zdarsky, who likes to work with a whole bunch of people. Black Panther's in this, Hawkeye's in this. There's Shocker. There's a whole bunch of different Iron Man. There's all kinds of different. He likes to throw everything in the kitchen sink in there. So it's good. So artwork is great by Adam Kubert. So we'll get to see what happens with issue 300. So that's it for Marvel. Now is the comic that I've been anticipating for the last year or so. A little background: when I worked at Diamond Comics as a customer service rep, we got free comps from a bunch of independent companies just so we could sell up their comics to our customers. Say, hey, you should check this out. It's a good comic. And in the end, it gave us a chance to look at the stuff, look at it in front of us and say, hey, this artwork looks great. This is a great story. You should do more of it. I think you should buy more. Well, one of the comics we got was from a little studio called Abstract Studios. And there's only really one person who runs Abstract Studios, and that's artist-writer Terry Moore. His wife also helps out as well. Terry Moore's magnum opus was Strangers in Paradise. It started 25 years ago. And for 10 years, let's see, 13 years, let's just say. For about 13 years, Terry Moore did a monthly comic of Strangers in Paradise, going through not only Abstract Studios, which he created in the middle of the run, but he did an Image run and some other stuff as well. And again, it's more proof that comics are not just superheroes. This story was about a lesbian who falls in love with, or maybe I should say bisexual probably, but a bisexual woman who falls in love with her best friend, another woman whose entire life is trying to find the perfect husband, not knowing that the perfect husband might not be male. But it was a romance comic to start with. And then gradually, as the story developed and characters built up and got revealed, we learned there was more to the story than that, a lot more to the story. And I don't want to ruin it because I want you to go out and experience it for yourself. Why? Because Terry Moore has decided to redo Strangers in Paradise again. This is Strangers in Paradise 25, number 1. It's the first new issue in almost 10 years, 15 years, if that. It's the one book I've been waiting for forever. Terry Moore, after he ended Strangers in Paradise, he went on to do Echo, and then Rachel Rising, and then Motor Girl, which are all great stories, and then he came back to Strangers in Paradise. Now, we got these comps from Terry Moore, and I never really read them because at the time it didn't interest me. I was interested in superhero books. But then someone mentioned how good it was, so I said, hey, let me just start reading the bunches that I have in there. I started reading the comics that I had comped on, and before I knew it, I was hooked. I went back. I was able to get trades of the early issues and read all them. And on top of that, I was able to get my lovely wife interested in comics. This is one of the first comics that I got her interested in to start reading, and she wanted to read. So from that point on, whenever we got the comps, I would bring it home so she could read it, and we'd keep it here. So when Terry Moore canceled Strangers in Paradise, it was like, okay, he told his story, he wrapped it up in a nice bow, and it was all done and taken care of, and then he went on and he did other things, and then something, I guess, started tickling the back of his head, and said, I want to return to Strangers in Paradise. So here it is. Number 1, Strangers in Paradise 25, number 1. I highly recommend this because I actually read it while my daughter and son were in their baths, and I was out in the hallway waiting for them to be finished. I read this. I will give this to my wife after the show, and she will read it, and she will love it. This story does not miss a beat from the previous Strangers in Paradise series, and it jumps right in. It's a fantastic story. Again, you've seen, I've done Motor Girl, but again, it's beautiful black and white artwork. Moments of lots of dialogue compounded with some absolutely stunning no dialogue pages. The artwork tells the story itself. It is an amazing story, and we get to catch up on some of the characters we love. Just a little brief look, because it has to set up the story that this story is going to be telling. I don't know how many issues this is going to last. I'm not expecting it to last 70, 80 some issues, something like that. That Stranger in Paradise lasted. I'm not expecting that, but I highly, highly recommend you pick this up and you pick up, if you can find the omnibus, I would pick up the 200-page, or I'm sorry, the 2,000-page omnibus. Or if not, there's a bunch of trades that collect bits of it. There's about 6 of them out there. I highly recommend you go to a local comic book store. Maybe your local comic book store is doing a deal. My comic book store is doing 50% off of trades, toys, games, cards, action figures, t-shirts, glassware. Everything in the store is basically 50% off except for new comics and old back issues. I highly recommend seeing if whatever your local comic book store is, see if they have any deals going on. If they are, pick up Strangers in Paradise trades, read them, pick up the first issue of the new comic. I highly recommend it. This is the comic of the week, might even be the month, might even be of the year. I loved it, and again, gorgeous cover. I'll put that on my greatest covers list, best covers of the week list as well. Fantastic, 25 years later. I picked this one up on a whim because it looked interesting. It's The Further Adventures of Nick Wilson, #1. It's written by Eddie Gordeski and Mark Andreyko, and art by Steven Sadowski. I think it's about an actor who used to play a superhero on a TV show and what happens afterwards. It looks good. The artwork's good. A friend of mine, Shannon Eric Denton, recommended it highly, so I figured I'll take a look at it and see what it says. Again, more proof that comics are more than superheroes. Strangers in Paradise, and then The Further Adventures of Nick Wilson, #1. So again, a good place to start is #1s. We have Damage, Strangers in Paradise 25, #1, and The Further Adventures of Nick Wilson, #1, just to begin with. And then there are other books you can go pick up as well. That, a lot of comic book stores will have at least 2 to 3 months worth of books up on another shelf. So if issue 5 is out, you can get issue 4, 3, or 2 before having to dig through the back issue bin. So I just go to your comic book store and just get the layout and figure out what it is and just look for stuff and buy stuff. And it finally is out. It took forever, but it's because Francesco Francavilla is a fantastic artist. His Spirit, the Corpse Makers miniseries is finally completed. This was solicited back in April, so it should have come out in June. Instead, it didn't come out until January. But it's worth it because Francisco Francavilla is an amazing artist. He's also a really good writer. He is the perfect artist for a Spirit comic. And it's very atmospheric, wonderful artwork, and you get a full comic of his stuff, and you got a full miniseries of his stuff. So it might have taken 6 months to get out, but all issues are out. #5 is out this week. You might be able to even find 4321 on the shelf. Probably not. I'd probably look in the back issue bin, but you never know. Robotech #6 is out this week as well. This is a soft reboot of the Robotech TV series. The comic has basically been following the TV series, but it's made some slight changes here and there. The art is, the plot is by Brian Wood and Simon Furman. The script is by Simon Furman. The art is by Marco Torrini. This one basically covers episode 7 of Robotech, where they go to Mars. But as I said, there are other slight changes that they've made to the series to not make it like a direct adaptation of the book. So that's what keeps it interesting. So Robotech #6 is out this week. Another one that deserves to be for cover of the week because it's just so hot and it's drawn by Art Thibbert, who I absolutely love, is Sheena, Queen of the Jungle #5. Just gorgeous. I wish he'd do the interior artwork. Marguerite Bennett, again, who I love. Christian Trujillo are the writers. Art by Maria Sanapo. Moritat usually does the artwork. I guess he's taking a breather. The artwork is not great in this issue, but it's passable. Dynamite has been doing a great job with their female characters, and this is no different. So this is up there for cover of the week as well. Red Sonja, number 12, continuing the fantastic Dynamite female stuff. This is written by Amy Chu and Eric Burnham with art by Carlos Gomez. They did a great job with putting Red Sonja in present day and having her deal with the stuff in present day. So they might be getting out of that because this looks like this is back in medieval times, so we'll see. But definitely worth a pickup. Red Sonja's been excellent so far. Star Wars Adventures number 6 is out this week. This is Rose from the Last Jedi. If you haven't seen it yet, she's a character from The Last Jedi. Now, Disney owns the rights to Star Wars, obviously. And Disney also owns the rights to Marvel. And Marvel's been doing the Star Wars books, been doing a fantastic job with those books. But IDW was able to somehow get the rights to different ones. This one has a couple of different stories in it. Rose Knows, written by Delilah S. Dawson with art by Derek Charm. Tales from Wild Space, Pod Racer's Rescue, which features young Anakin Skywalker, written by Sean Manning with art by Chad Thomas. And Dispatches from Wild Space. And basically what it is, it's more of an all-ages Star Wars comic. And I don't think it really fits into continuity. It might, and Disney probably has a say in it, so maybe it does fit into continuity, but it's dealing with characters from The Last Jedi. And then you have a secondary story which takes place with young Anakin on Tatooine. So you get to do a little bit of that. So issue 7 looks like it's going to be more Rebels characters. So they're starting to do different takes on stuff. So there's that one. Speaking of Rebels, I have my Rebels shirt on because the final book we have is Star Wars Force of Destiny, also from IDW, also in the same vein as Star Wars Adventures. Hera from the Rebels story. It's written by Devin Grayson, who I love, and she's disappeared for a while, but she's starting to make a slight comeback, which is great. Art by Eva Walderman. So if you are a Rebels fan or just a strong female character, again, it's a one-shot. This is another good one to pick up. Same with the Star Wars Adventures. It's, one-and-done stories. You don't need to have read the previous issues to understand what's going on. If you like Star Wars and your family likes Star Wars, definitely pick that up. All right, that's it for this week. The cover of the week, obviously, everybody knows what it is because it's the book of the week. It's the cover of the week. It's forever fantastic. It is Strange in Paradise #1's cover of the week. My highly recommended book of the week. Definitely check it out. Definitely read the trades. It is more grown-up-y, adult situation stuff. Probably bore the hell out of kids. But you're not kids, right? Your kids can go read Star Wars Adventures. So on that note, I'm going to say farewell. Go to the local comic book store. Check out those books or any other books. As I said, that's just a small sampling of what came out this week. There's a bunch of X-Men books that came out this week. So if you're an X-Men fan, there's probably a Deadpool book that came out this week. I couldn't tell you if there was or not. But, there's a whole bunch of other Marvel books that came out this week, other DC books, other independents. And definitely, check out stuff. And your local comic store might also have, toys and action figures and gaming stuff and baseball cards and T-shirts and stuff like that. And there might be new stuff coming out with those as well. So go to your local comic book store. Go to your search engine, type in Comic Shop Locator Service if you do not know where your local comic book store is. Find a bunch, type your zip code, find the bunch of stores within a 10 to 20 mile radius of your house, of your zip code rather, I should say. Go visit their websites, go visit their stores, just check it out. As I tell you, my store where I buy these comics, right up the street now. They just moved to a new place. I absolutely love going in there. And as I said, they've got a sale going on this weekend, 50% off of basically everything except for comic books. So I'm going to buy, there was a bunch of Funko Pops. They just got a new Funko Pop display in with a whole bunch of Funko Pops. I think I might do a little Funko Pop shopping. And they're going to be half price. So most of them are like close to $10, maybe $5. There's a 2-pack I'm dying to get that they have listed for $22. Guess what? It's going to be $11. So I can get the 2-pack for $11 and a single one for $5 for $16, and it'll still be less than the 2-pack regularly costs. So check it out. Who knows what your store is doing this weekend? Every store is different because every store has a different owner. Check it out. Have fun. Enjoy. Read comics. Strange in Paradise is the way to go.